And the next question is to you on another topic. In March of 2016, the state faced a projected $220 million deficit. By a 33-3 vote, the Senate approved a plan to fix it. One of the guys who voted against it was your opponent. He was among that three. The fix didn't work. So was Senator Linares right or wrong in voting as he did, in your opinion?
Well, actually, it's kind of a funny story because that vote was sort of the thing that pushed me over the edge in wanting to run for this office. I was at the wake of former First Selectman or deceased First Selectman Dick Smith, and I was talking to someone else in the legislature who was talking about that bipartisan vote, and he. I asked him who voted against it, and he told me, and I was like perplexed. I mean, I understand that we have a much broader problem with our budget, but that was an attempt, a bipartisan attempt to solve problems. I am all about reaching across the aisle, finding people to work with, coming up with bipartisan solutions, because retreating to this nonsense of the Democrats did this and the Republicans did this and it's just ridiculous. There's a lot of blame to lay to people's feet, but we need to solve the broader problem. There was no money to pay the bills the next day. You had to vote for something. You had to stand for something.
All right, I'm going to have to cut you off. If the candidates keep an eye on, we have time to keep it, so I don't have to do it. You can kind of
I will try to do that.
Moderate yourself. Thank you. Senator Linares, your comment about that vote.
Yeah, and first I'd like to thank David Collins, who wrote a very nice article after that vote, because I stood up against that budget because the following day I knew that it would be in deficit. The people of Connecticut deserve a balanced budget when the legislature assembles and votes. That budget had $200 million of overtime. That budget was in deficit the very next day. We didn't make the kinds of structural changes that we needed to make as a legislature to solve the problems, not just for the following year, but for 5-10 years down the road. We can't just budget for tomorrow. We have to budget for future generations as well. So that was a time for structural changes. That was a time for pension reform. That was a time to get serious about making our government more efficient and more effective. And I'm proud that I stood against that budget and all of Dan Malloy's and the Democratic majority's budgets in Hartford since I've been there.
Please, no applause during the debate. Thank you. You have 30 seconds or final word on this, Mr. Needleman.
I'm going to watch her this time. So back in high school, I was called a master of the obvious by a teacher who I thought actually it was a compliment, and it wasn't. Senator Linares' comments here demonstrate that he's a master of the obvious. We all know now that there's a need for structural reform. And when he voted either for or against the 2-year budget, that's when it needed to be addressed. In the 11th hour, with deficit spending facing us, with the need to shut down government, that was not the moment to take that stand. It needed to be taken, and again, that's what I plan on doing.
Thank you.